Hey, this is Chuck, and you are listening to Fans with Bands, the podcast where we talk to the fans and the bands they dig about life, music, and whatever the hell else we want to talk about. Today on Fans with Bands, we're talking to Tom Robbins from And Now the Band podcast. Check it out. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Fret Rescue. Located in Southeast Michigan, Joe at Fret Rescue has over 17 years of experience as a journeyman luthier. From basic setup to major repairs and restorations, you can put your trust in Fret Rescue. Contact Fret Rescue via email at fretrescue@gmail.com. You can also find them on social media by searching for Fret Rescue, @FERTRESCUE. That's Fret Rescue. Hey, this is Chuck with Fans of Bands, and I'm talking to Tom Robbins from And Now the Band podcast. Tom, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you? Sorry for
Good. I know I got you in mid stride with a plate full of pizza. That's awesome.
yeah. It's like it's been a crazy day. I'm super grateful. My wife just got home and was like, "Here's pizza," and I'm like, "I love you."
Excellent, man. Awesome. Well, you were kind enough to have me on your podcast And Now the Band, and I was like, I gotta have Tom on this podcast because I just want to keep talking to you about music. So
I
here
know
you
it's so
are.
much fun. Yes. Yeah, I had so much fun chatting with you when you joined me, and I greatly appreciate you and your time. It was I feel like I learned so much about you that I didn't know. I was like, man, Chuck's even fucking cooler than I thought, man.
Ay, ay, ay. Oh man, I don't know if I'm. I don't even think I am cool, but
I think you're cool.
I used to want to be cool when I was a kid. I was like, but I always never. And well, we're totally going to go off what I was going to talk to about, but that kind of reminds me of like being a kid, and I didn't feel cool, and it always seemed like the kids that didn't necessarily fit in were the kids that listened to heavy metal.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was your experience, like when you were,
absolutely.
yeah. Were you
Yeah, we
like,
were the ones that were always like looked down on, and we were the, the losers and the geeks and
yeah,
the scrubs and the stoners, or
right.
so
Yeah, definitely.
so it's like even still like today, like those are my people,
Oh, I know. Yeah. And I always notice that when I'm at a show, especially a heavy show. Well, actually anything in the rock, kind of stoner rock, psychedelic shit, there's it seems to be, and I don't want to like stereotype people, but um, they tend to be folks that are like very much into music but somewhat introverted, and maybe some people are like a little bit more socially awkward than others, but they're just kind of like but they all like are super passionate about, especially when you go to a metal show, they're super passionate about the bands. Half the time people are like rattling off bands. I'm like, fuck, how do you stay
Yeah,
in
how do you
touch
stay
with
in
all this
tune with
shit?
all
Yeah.
that?
Or
Yeah,
remember all this shit,
yeah,
that so and so played in this album and that. I'm like, fuck.
yeah. Dude, I know there's people they like, I talking to them, I'm like, how do you know like this guy played the one solo on one
Right.
song on this album from 1982? Like,
Yeah.
like I have no idea.
Yeah. It's crazy. Well, I
Uh,
wanted to go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say that like the one cool thing that I learned that I feel
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm like kind of cool now is John Bush was asked to join Metallica, and I was like, oh, I
Oh,
didn't know that.
yeah. I think I picked that little tidbit up. I was listening to Ian or Scott Ian's biography,
Mm,
because they mentioned it in there because he like met those dudes in Metallica early
yeah.
on,
Yep.
and when they got rid of Mustaine and pulled in Kirk, and then yeah, when they were thinking about getting singers, I think they mentioned that they were
Yeah.
thinking of John Bush and such. Yeah, but he was like Armored at the time. Armored Saint was like kind of doing their thing. They were
Yeah.
all at the same level, and he was like, I just want to keep doing Armored Saint. So, but
Yeah.
which is great because I love Armored Saint. I thought they were fantastic.
It definitely worked out great for both of them. I'm
Yeah,
also right big fan of Armored Saint. I'm like so and to like John's voice
yeah,
is it's just fucking fantastic. Like I like Anthrax, but I really enjoy the John Bush era Anthrax, I
Yeah.
think, more than the rest of it.
Yeah, the sound of white noise.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. So what I was going to ask you is, so how did the and now the band podcast get started? What was the inspiration for
Uh, hmm, that's a really good question.
that?
Well, actually a really good buddy of mine, Shane Simmons, on Instagram, it's at Shane Simmons Tattoo. Hey, are you drinking the cherry one?
I am, dude.
Cheers.
Cheers, man. We are cheering to the fact that we're both drinking cherry liquid death, which is the cherry obituary.
Yeah, how cool is that? Uh, so my buddy Shane, like he goes to a lot of shows with me. He's probably down here in Kentucky. I would say he's probably one of my best friends.
Cool.
We go to a lot of shows, and we're always, talking with bands and people, and he's like, and in those conversations, I mean, like, those little weird, like obscure tidbits about bands from way
Yeah.
back, and
Yeah.
a couple of them, and
Yeah.
so those come up, and he's like, dude, you should do a podcast and really talk about that stuff. And I'm like, I mean, I guess I could, but I don't know enough. I don't know enough about music history to like fill a podcast forever.
Right. Right.
And I like the idea of a podcast. So I just was like, hey, I wonder if I can get bands to like talk with me.
Yeah.
Um, so, and then,
That's how it went. Yeah.
yeah, I hit the
Awesome.
ground running because Finality was the first one.
Oh, really? Cool. Very
Yeah.
awesome. Very nice. So when did it start? When did you get going?
December. It actually released on Christmas, December 25th of 23.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Awesome, man. Awesome. So
Uh,
have you like in those talks with bands, I guess, I always have certain things I'm trying to get from people to understand like their creativity and that kind of stuff. So what are you trying to what do you hope to get from those bands as far as like a conversation from them?
um, I think going into it, it's really just I I want to say it's linear, but it's not. I'm just really curious, right?
Yeah.
Curious about them as a person, and of course the band, because I was really I loved the history of bands, like how they started,
Oh
and
yeah.
what pushed them to do, things like who was your biggest inspiration, like um I just had a talk with who did I have a talk with? I I think I was talking with Jake Taylor from In Heart's Wake, and
Okay.
I was asking him, and I thought this was really cool. He's like, I went to a show, and it was like cool, but the I really liked the sense of community more
Yeah.
than I really liked, the band. Or maybe no, he liked the energy from the band, but someone
Yeah.
was like,
Talking
you
about
know,
like how they like the community of being there, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Wow,
Because
that's
I
awesome.
mean, you've been to enough shows, like when you go there, it is a sense of community. You've got the guys who, the people who think they're hard asses,
Oh
but
yeah.
like, but they'll protect you the whole time, So it's like, yeah.
Yeah. I got actually like well, not pulverized, but well, I have been pulverized in the pit, but oh, so fun tidbit. I don't know if we talked about this, but all my major injuries in like mosh pits all occurred at Harpo's.
Oh,
Every one of them.
uh,
It's the only place I've
I've
ever been hurt.
that's funny. So the only place that I remember being hurt, there's a club here called Headliners, and I was super drunk one night, and one of my buddies is a bouncer, so I was messing with him, and
Yeah.
he swung me and threw me back into the pit, and
Oh shit.
it blew out my shoulder.
Oh.
I had to get rotator cuff surgery.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's pretty serious, dude.
yeah,
Holy shit.
yeah. I was
Oh
like, what
man.
the fuck?
Yeah, oh, so we might as well just talk about injuries. So, I think the very first time I got hurt was at Overkill. and I was just in the pit, and this guy happened to roll into my left knee and dislocated it.
Mm.
Um, so that thing still is, it is a noisy mother right now. It's like, so every morning when I'm moving around, it's like, it's grinding around in there, but
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt anymore. But it took like a year to heal. And then the other one is I tried to stage dive at Harpo's, and if you know, that's like an 8-foot stage or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and busted my foot. And then the last one was grip, um, where I got my nose broken. Uh,
Oh shit.
yeah, you know when circle pits changed, morphed into the kung fu fighting thing, whatever the fuck that was, or
Yeah.
still is in some things. This guy's like wailing around, and I was oblivious to what the fuck was going on. I turned and caught a fist right in the fucking head,
Ah,
and my nose is over here, and like there was a lot of blood, but it was fun.
I watched.
I
So
did the
we
Rocky thing where you were like reset your nose.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, you're already hurt. Like, what the
right.
hell?
What the hell?
Uh, we went to see Knocked Loose just had their like album release show here, and they did 2 nights at Paris Town Hall, which is like, I don't know, 2,000 cap room.
Mhm.
And then they did a pop-up show announced the day before. They announced on Wednesday. They had the show on Thursday at a little small 350 capacity room.
Oh,
And like it sold out like in no time. And
yeah.
that was, I think that was probably the most violent show that I've ever been to. Like we weren't there 10 minutes and I saw this dude with this big goose egg in his
Oh
eye.
man. Oh
There
yeah,
were,
yeah.
I saw broken bones and black eyes everywhere, and I'm just like, holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. I'm too old for that shit now.
Yeah.
I'm like way, way off. If
I'm,
it starts
I'm
going,
gonna,
I'm getting back.
yeah, I'm standing by the back wall. Like if there's
Yeah.
like a row of 3 people between me and the pit, I'm probably good.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Just enough buffer so if you get pushed back, you're fine, but
Yeah,
yeah.
that's so funny.
Oh my God. So, I know you've talked to a pretty diverse group of folks on your podcast. Are there any interviews you've done so far that kind of really stood out for you? Really things, fascinating things you learned, or just, like the John Bush thing, things you didn't know?
Yeah, honestly, I like about every interview that I've done has been really cool because it's I've learned something, or I've created a relationship with someone. So
Yeah.
when I see them, it's like, God, I went to see a couple of bands right after interviewing them, and they're
Oh,
just like,
cool.
"Hey, dude, give me a hug," and I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
"Yeah,"
awesome.
you know.
That's
S-
awesome.
So, but all of them have been, I think, really informative and unique in how they process their creativity.
Yeah.
You know, um, John, of course, was cool. I really liked like the Jimmy Bauer interview. He was
Oh, yeah.
he
He's a cool
telling,
guy.
oh, for sure, and telling stories about, going out
Yeah.
with Pantera fishing and everyone getting sick and them,
Oh,
uh
man.
so so that, there's been, I think Jimmy Bowers probably sticks out the most.
Cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
probably all grew up as big Pantera fans, and
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I remember the first time I saw him was at the Ritz in Roseville. Do you remember that place?
yeah.
Um, yeah, they were opening up for oh shoot, what was that band? Rat Child America.
Okay.
So they were on tour with those guys. It was like Cemetery Gates. It was the big
Yeah.
their big tune
Like
at that
as
point.
they're breaking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cowboys from Hell, basically. And that was the wildest show. It was super fun, because it was like like literally like a stream of people up on stage and off, like just jumping off constantly, the whole damn thing. It was
Yeah.
like they blew Red Hot America away. I mean, I didn't even know who Pantera was, and uh, I was just like, holy shit, how can they follow this band? It's not going to be the same, and it wasn't. But it was, yeah, that was my first experience. Do you remember the first time you saw Pantera?
Um, I'll be honest with you. I've only seen Pantera once.
Oh, really? Oh
Yeah,
man.
I've loved Pantera for forever. Cemetery Gates is when I,
Yeah.
when I like when they were introduced to me, and I
Yeah.
was always like, oh man, this is like so cool and so dark. And then they got
Yeah.
so heavy, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And no, I take that back. I've seen them twice. The first time,
I was gonna say you're probably about what 10 years younger than me, so you were probably just a small child when they were getting going.
no, I mean, I was in my teens,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I've only seen them since I didn't see them originally. I've only seen them with Zach and Charlie.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Saw them July of last. It
Oh,
was
nice.
July of last year, and
How was that? I mean, I'm sure
I
you've
don't
seen
remember.
footage of. Oh.
I It's so funny. I'm getting ready to celebrate a year like without alcohol
Yeah.
because of that show.
Well, cheers. Oh, well.
Thanks. Yeah. Like we ended up drinking too much. We started drinking early in the day at Kuma's
Yeah.
Corner in Indianapolis. And then we went back to the hotel and we were passing around some moonshine. And then we went to the liquor store and then we went to the show. And
Oh man. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So that would be like, yeah, you would like, what the hell has happened?
yeah, yeah. I remember Snafu opened the show and I was jamming out and loving it. And I really enjoyed that. One of my favorite things is when the opening band has the headliner side stage watching them and jamming out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like watching Phil jam out to these guys, and that's to me that's always so cool, and it speaks volumes about the opener, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
agree.
but I don't remember Lamb of God or Pantera taking the stage at all.
Oh, damn it.
Uh, my buddy said like you disappeared about two songs into the Pantera set, and we don't know where you went. And at
Oh,
the end of the
shit.
night, they found me. I was sitting outside the bathrooms eating tacos and drinking water.
Gotta attend to the needs.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy, man. That's
So,
oh my God.
uh,
Ay, ay, ay.
I saw him at Louder Than Life though,
Oh,
and
okay, cool.
that was it was a really cool experience because like so I'm standing kind of back because I don't want to be up in the crowd,
Yeah,
and there's a group of people in front of me, and they're all like smoking weed and drinking and
yeah,
dancing and singing, and like literally, I mean, the whole crowd is singing along,
right, right.
and one of the dudes like hits a joint, passes it, and turns around and looks at me, and we just yell at each other. And then he comes up and gives me a big hug, and I'm like, this is why I like, going to shows because it's you don't even have to know anyone, but it's a big family.
Right, right. Yeah, it is definitely like we were talking a little bit earlier, just, a community and you don't really have to know anybody. You know them tangentially because you're both into certain bands, right?
Yeah,
So when you go to see, Opeth, then you know that those folks are going to be into it or Mastodon or whoever the hell.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's music, the ultimate connection,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. So, since you started the podcast to now, has there been any um, have your expectations changed? So when you started the podcast almost a year ago uh, to now, anything that you didn't expect that was going to be part of that process?
Um, no, I don't think so. I think my expectations shit, but none of the expectations have changed. I've really I've really dug into it and made relationships with PR people which really the um make the whole it getting more interviews
Yeah,
a lot easier.
yeah.
Um
Had you ever done anything like that? But I mean, not a podcast, but anything like that before, like
no,
writing or doing any?
no,
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 just
no. When I lived in Nashville, I was talking with I don't remember what the paper was, but it was like their local like entertainment rag.
uh,
I was talking to them. I was going to start doing show write-ups,
oh,
and
okay.
I never, I, I never took the next step. I was just so busy doing, everything
Yeah.
because I don't sit still. Uh, uh,
So,
so
so when did you? what's your earliest recollection of becoming a music fan, and
Mm.
what were you listening to?
Oh, I was a kid. I was a young child. Um, what I what I remember is I remember going to see Michael Jackson on the Thriller tour,
Holy cow, that's cool.
and I don't remember the show itself. I remember the feeling of being there,
Yeah.
and like everyone's having a good time. And I remember leaving. I had to be 7, maybe. Um, and I just remember leaving there being in awe of that, and then going straight home and turning on like MTV and VH1 and like jamming to like Lionel Richie, and
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
yeah. Awesome.
And also around the same time, my dad was he did leather work.
Oh,
So
awesome.
there was a guy from Wayne, Michigan, where we lived at the time. Um, he was uh I'm gonna say he was handicapped for lack of
Hmm.
a better term. The
Okay.
story I get is he was hit by an 18 wheeler,
Oh,
and
Jesus.
yeah, it messed him up pretty good.
Yeah,
But he was
yeah.
big metalhead, and he was always like Iron Maiden, Metallica, Slayer. So that was my first introduction into heavy metal.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yes. And it was like all about the same time. And now I'm just like, you know, I'm such a nerd about it.
So, do you remember like what band was, out of the, because that's kind of a, I wouldn't say different, well, it's sort of diverse, right? I mean, Slayer and Iron Maiden are like two different ends of a spectrum almost.
Yeah.
But do you remember uh, what it was about that music that intrigued you? Was it the imagery? Was it the sounds? Was it were you into a particular instrument? Were you listening to like, oh, I love that guitar, I like that vocal? What?
No, like I think it was a mixture of everything,
Okay.
right? Because that up until that point, everything had been pretty clean and well,
Yeah.
very well produced,
Yeah.
and then being introduced into the heavier stuff, and especially like early Slayer that wasn't like didn't have big production. It
No.
was it
Yeah.
was real raw, and like I was always like, wow, that's so freaking cool. And then, you know, like you've got, early Metallica, right?
Oh
Kill 'Em
yeah.
All
Kill 'em all. Yeah.
was like
Very raw.
all
Yep.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so that was, for me, I was always just wow. And I was wowed by the guitar playing because it was fast and it was dirty, and then the vocals, it was so much screaming,
Yeah.
like very, I guess, primal
Right.
would be the term. And then to go with the drums, it was just like, oh shit, man,
So
this is
were you
go ahead.
did you get into punk or anything or because I've seen different paths where people start with what is considered classic rock now, like Deep Purple, Black
Hmm.
Sabbath, and then they migrate. Well, that was my path. I'm kind of talking about myself, but you migrate into Maiden, you migrate into other things, you get into thrash, blah blah blah. But sometimes folks are come from a punk hardcore background, or they get into Slayer early and they get into punk and hardcore. Was that a path that you explored?
I did. I definitely went down the punk path for a lot of years. And I still love to listen to punk. Of course, right? You've
Yeah.
Black Flag and the Cro-Mags and Agnostic
So
Front,
fun.
and yeah, you get into all that, and probably I think the band that I like the most in the punk realm is Rancid. I
Oh, awesome.
like
I
those
saw them
the
once.
yeah, yeah, like their first couple albums to me were, gave that same like early thrash feeling for
Yeah.
me. I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, this is so freaking awesome."
Yeah. Yeah.
Um and they had a song about Detroit, and I'm like, "How can I not?" How can I not love that?
Yeah, that's awesome. So, do you remember the first album you got?
I can tell you the first album that I bought with my own money
Yeah.
was Motley Crue Girls, Girls, Girls.
All right. Nice.
Uh yeah. Um and then, I don't remember what the very first album I got was, but I know like White Snake was in there and Def Leppard.
Yeah.
There's probably some Bon Jovi in there. Um there was for sure some Ted Nugent because that was,
Oh yeah.
that was the thing back then, especially being a Michigan kid.
Yeah. Motor City Madman for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So it was a lot of the more popular stuff.
Did you ever end up like trying to play music or do any of that stuff? Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I took piano lessons when I was probably 3 or 4.
Oh shit.
Um,
All right, cool.
and then in elementary, I went from piano to clarinet and then to violin. And then when I got older, there was a dude that lived down the street from me. He'd hate if I said this. His name was Paul Bologna.
Nice.
He'd be like, "Hey, Paul Bologna, what's up?" Uh, and he was a lot older than me, but I don't know, probably 13 or so.
Okay.
He taught me how to play drums, and then when I turned 18, I went to a pawn shop and bought a bass and a guitar and taught myself how to play those.
Nice. Nice. Did you did you play in bands
I
then?
did.
Like you
Yep.
did? So what time frame was that? And
Mm.
what were the bands?
So I played in bands in probably, I gotta think, mid to late 90s.
Oh, okay.
Uh, up in the early 2000s, actually, because I was still playing in bands in Louisville. We did, I don't know, one of the bands was the Jester Company, and
Nice.
it was 5 guys who all played acoustic guitars.
Oh, all right. Nice.
Um, I had a punk band, Big Bertha and the Fist Fuckers. Uh,
That's awesome.
yeah. Uh, I released an album. I released 8 albums. Out of those 8, one of them made it. One of the I put a vinyl single out, like a 7-inch,
Oh, cool.
and I actually, God, I don't know, probably had 1,000 copies of that and got rid of all those. And
Wow, that's awesome.
my wife a couple of years ago was like, "You didn't release a vinyl." And we looked on. I was screwing
Discogs.
around on eBay, and I found one. I was like, "Holy
See?
shit!" Yeah, I was like, "That's it." She's like, "No way." I'm
Oh,
like,
you didn't
"Yeah,
keep one for yourself?
nah."
Oh, Christ.
Well, let me. I did, but what ended up happening is, I guess 2007 or 2008, my house burned down, and I
Oh,
lost
fuck.
literally everything.
Oh, man. Holy shit.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, all my guitars. I had a Beatles White Album with the foil stamp on it that I
Oh,
lost. I lost. I was just talking about this last night. The original Creeping Death
oh,
picture disc.
oh, man.
Yeah.
Wow, what a bummer. I have the blue one, not the
Hmm.
picture disc, but the blue vinyl, Creeping Death.
No, it was a picture disc with the
Oh, nice.
uh with
With
the
yeah,
face on it. Yeah.
yeah. Awesome.
We were
Oh,
actually
that's a bummer.
we went to see Bastardane last night, so I was talking to Castor Hetfield, and it was like he's like, "Yeah, I collect vinyl," and my buddy's like, "Yeah, you collect vinyl too." I'm like, "Yeah, I collect vinyl too," and he's like, "Most prized?" And I'm like, "It burned up in a fire." You know,
Oh, man. So, do you still play? Do you?
like I've still got guitars and keyboards and all that stuff around the house, but I I don't really put the effort into it anymore.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I have guitar. You can see them. I have the guitars in the back, but
Yeah,
I just fuck around every once in a while. I don't really. I don't have the drive to be in a band anymore.
yeah.
It's like just
Like I'm
takes too
like,
much
oh,
time.
it would be kind of cool if I had the time to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's what I always think every once in a while. I like, either I'll watch a band or be thinking like, uh, it just pops in my head. It'd be fun to do that again. But then I'm like, oh yeah, but there's a hell of a lot of like things
It's
to
a lot
do.
of commitment. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just to get some practice time in.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
when the hell I would do it.
And matching your schedule with everyone else's, it's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't,
How's this gonna work?
yeah, I don't know how to do this. Oh shit.
Oh man. So you know, talking about like shows and stuff, if you had to like just narrow down to like a top three, what would those shows be that you've seen that just kind of stand out over time for you?
You know, what I'll do is I'll give you my three like big bands that were my all-time
Yeah.
favorites, and I'll give you my three smaller bands that are my all-time favorites.
Excellent.
Because I've thought long and hard about this.
You have? All
Um,
right, good.
yeah, I really have. My top three shows, and to be clear, they are in no specific order.
Okay.
Um, Black Sabbath, because who doesn't,
Yeah. Black
you
Sabbath.
know,
Right.
that was the end tour, and the band sounded so great. Ozzy sounded better than I think I had ever heard him sound,
Yeah.
which was
Awesome.
fantastic.
Where was that
Um,
at?
Pine Knob.
Oh, awesome. Very cool.
Uh, then Iron Maiden. And that, one, I've been listening to him forever,
Yeah.
and two, it was a memory that I was able to share with my little brother who is no longer with us,
Oh,
right?
oh, yeah.
So that was super cool.
Very nice.
Um, and then Foo Fighters,
Oh,
because they're such a good like rock and roll band,
yeah.
and
And they put on a great show. I think
yeah,
and it's an old school show, I think, in the way that
yeah.
it's just we're just gonna rock out with like 110% intensity,
Yeah.
and you can join in.
Yeah, I mean, you even see them at a festival and they're pulling a 2 hour set out when
Yeah,
they should be
yeah,
an hour, a little
yeah,
over an hour. You're just like, holy shit. But my
yeah.
wife, we were in Lexington to see him, and it was 2 hours, 45 minutes. She goes, "Oh my God." I'm like,
Wow.
yeah,
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 that's
like
awesome.
for
Yeah.
sure. Um, Smaller bands. One of my favorites is Blessed Black.
Oh yeah, you were
They
telling me about them when we talked. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So all the dudes in the band are the nicest dudes ever. And I, in my mind, they are just really good, like old fashioned rock and roll, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You listen to them, and I think today they're classified as like doom, but
Yeah. But I know what you're saying because I checked them out after you recommended them. I was like, yeah, this is very cool because and it is, you know, doomy in the sense of like if you called what the hell, shoot, Graveyard, is it Graveyard? Icy Blues. Um, the like just a really like hard rock, like
yeah,
going into metal, but not really,
not quite.
not
It's
quite
not
there.
quite there.
Yeah,
It's real hooky. It
yeah,
makes you want to sing. Like the songs are well written, well structured, and again, right, those dudes, they're all just so fucking nice.
that's awesome.
Like you see them and they all give you a hug, and it's
Yeah,
like, you.
yeah.
So I'm like,
Where are they?
um,
Where are those dudes from?
they're like the Cincinnati area,
Okay, all right,
so like Southern Ohio, Northern Kentucky.
Kentucky. Yeah,
Um, they always put on a good show. I gotta think now, because damn it, now I'm so focused on like the last
right.
couple of
That.
Blessed Black shows, and they're getting ready to come around again. They're actually going to be in Detroit,
Oh,
um, with Fairy Ring.
oh, really? Do you know
Yeah,
when? Probably when I'm gonna
Oct-
be gone.
it's like October 18th, maybe.
Yeah, I don't get back from Germany until maybe that night. So I don't know what kind of shape I'll be in.
I'll I'll have to look, but I
Yeah,
promise you, if you can make that show, don't miss it.
All right.
Fairy Ring is another one that I said I could give you my top three like
You
small bands, but
you do three and a half
there's
or four.
there's like 20.
Yeah.
Fairy Ring again, they're what I would say is like stoner metal in the
Yeah.
vein of The Sword.
Oh yeah. Awesome.
Um, Super nice dudes, but their live show is like you'd see them and you go, these guys probably can't put on a live show, and they kick your balls in.
Oh
Like
really?
oh man, so good.
Awesome. Well, I gotta
So
check them
good.
out because I don't remember. I don't think you mentioned them last time. I'm
Oh,
making a
well,
note. All right.
yeah, please. I'll send you
Yeah.
some of their stuff too.
All right. Cool.
They're working on album number 2, and I'm super excited for it. So Weary Traveler is their first album. Oh, and I didn't tell you this. Blessed Black. I know you're a vinyl guy.
Yeah.
Um, Blessed Black has Seasons Volume 1 getting ready to come out on vinyl, and the vinyl looks so fucking cool.
Awesome. All right.
Uh,
Well, that yeah, I definitely want to get a copy of that. That'd be cool.
yeah. Okay, so we've got Fairy Ring,
Yeah.
Blessed Black, then like kind of even like across the board is going to be Crop, who is a Lexington based band. Um, just fantastic live show. Again, super good dudes.
Yeah.
Um, Temple of the Fuzzwitch,
Oh yeah.
because like
Yeah. They're fantastic.
super, they are
Yeah.
like, they're tremendous musicians, great show, and super nice.
Yeah.
And God, Howling Giant, like,
Oh, see,
do you know
I've
Howling
heard of
Giant?
that. No, I've heard of them, but I've not listened. So I'll need to check that out too. What kind of
Well,
genre would you put
I'm
them in?
hmm, th- say it in my mind, it's reminiscent of like Rush.
Awesome. Very cool.
Um, they're a 3 or 4 piece depending on the night, but and I'll tell you my experience with them. I was going to a festival and they were headlining, and I'm like, I'm gonna listen to them because like I
Yeah.
want to know what I'm getting into, and for some reason it didn't click with me
Oh,
like on record, and
yeah.
I just didn't get it. And then I saw them at the festival and was just like, holy shit, like by far was phenomenal. And now I I listened to the record and I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, I get it. I totally get it now.
Yeah. It's funny how sometimes I was just trying to think when you mentioned that because there's been times when I've uh, like heard a band on the recording and it just didn't do anything for me. But then
Yep.
when you happen to see them live, like I wouldn't have gone out to see them because I was like, oh, recording's okay. But then you see them live and you're like, oh shit, you guys need to tap
Yeah.
that energy and get that on the next recording because
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
you just
Absolutely.
um, lose the intensity and then it changes everything when they're playing live and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, in the, I think, for me that night was, we were in a little small room. I mean, there's 200 or 300 people in there, and the
I think I lost you. Tom, you still there? I lost you, buddy. Oh,
there you are.
there you are. We gapped out for a moment.
Yeah. I was like, I lost you.
Oh no. So what were you saying? I'm sorry, man. It kind of
No,
dropped out.
to totally fine. Just saying that it was like it was a full listening experience. You have the whole body involved and the whole
Yeah.
crowd, and just it's a very different experience than just throwing on the headphones and listening to a record,
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, what was I gonna ask you? Um, oh, if you had to pick like kind of on that threes of charm kind of thing, three albums that were like the most influential to you, and it doesn't have to be heavy music,
Mm,
but just things that have resonated with you over time.
yeah. First, that's a really, really tall order.
I know to pick three because you could probably go on and on.
Yeah.
If you're like me, which I know you are, you could probably just go, oh, and this one, oh, and this one.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Probably the two that I listen to most. First, it's a toss up between And Justice for All and Master of Puppets.
Oh,
Um, those two albums are, in my mind, from start to finish, just perfect. Um, I wish there was more bass on And Justice for All, but you know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
and then um, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon.
Nice. Very
Um,
nice.
what a what a fantastic, classic album, and it was different than everything else at the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
And it's still it's one of those timeless albums. Like you were talking about those. So, I would say um, Master of Puppets too is timeless.
Yeah.
Still as good as it ever was.
Yeah. And any Black Sabbath album.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you are.
Oh.
So any Black Sabbath album. Like Ozzy
Oh.
by Black Sabbath era. Oh no, I lost you again.
I know.
Are you back?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm back. Yeah.
Okay.
The interwaves. It's like, come on, you sons of bitches.
I know. Question. Hold
Yeah.
on.
Hold on.
Pause.
Yeah. There'll be an answer. It'll come in a second. So I
Yeah.
can already see myself. Ah, fuck. Now I got to cut this and put this together.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, fuck it, just let it run.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Yeah.
so Ozzy era Black Sabbath for me, because I feel like Black Sabbath as a whole is just it's a timeless band, and you
Yeah.
literally right grew up listening to fuck Iron Man and
Right.
Fairies Wear Boots and
Yeah.
War Pigs and to shit Sweet Leaf and
Yeah.
Snowblind and all of
Into the
that. So
void. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
again, go on and on and on.
Right.
Um, but I the those riffs are timeless. You put them on today and they sound just as fresh today as they did,
Oh yeah.
50 years ago when it was released.
Yeah. Yeah. Those albums. Yeah. I can't imagine that I would ever not want to listen to the Sabbath. I mean,
Right.
it's just, yeah, it's ridiculous. Um, Another band that kind of hits me that same way with like kind of sort of, it's not, there's some timeless riffs. It's less riffs and just these extended jams is Earthless. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know if you ever listened to them, but
Mm,
holy fuck. Like, ever since I listened, they have an album called Black Heaven, which actually has you know, their earlier stuff is all instrumental. So there's no singing at all. And it's
okay.
just, 20 minutes of these three dudes just wailing. Um, and when you go to a show, it's like an hour and a half or 2 hours of three dudes wailing. But,
Hell yeah.
but, uh, Black Heaven has some vocals. So Isaiah Mitchell, the guitar player, he sings. He did another band called Golden Void, which is a little bit more sort of um, uh, Sabbathy with Deep Purple and but a little more trippy. But anyway, um, yeah, they've got that kind of timelessness, heaviness of Sabbath, but not quite the same crushing grooves.
Yeah.
Um, I was listening to, so every morning I go for a walk with my wife. We do like 5 miles, and um, So I'm always listening to books, pretty much, or podcasts. And I listened to Geezer Butler's book, his autobiography,
Yeah.
which was really good. But when you were talking about Sabbath, it made me think of like the the generations, that are in there, where you've got Ozzy, you've got, Ryan James Dio, you got a couple other dudes, Terry Martin, I think, and
Tony Martin.
Tony Martin, yeah, and some other dude. Oh, Ian Gillan for
Yeah.
uh, whatever that one album was, Evil something. The fuck was that called? I can see the creepy baby on
See
the
the
cover.
cover. Yeah.
Yeah. But and then, Ozzy again, and then actually they did Heaven and Hell, I think,
Hmm.
with Theo. But where was I going with all that? But just, those just different variations on the theme with uh, Black Sabbath, and just the fact that, they kept kind of reinventing themselves, which I think kind of goes to what you were saying is about those timeless riffs. It's just they were just, such great musicians and songwriters. They
Yeah.
just kept inventing things.
Well, yeah, and the really cool thing is like every vocalist has a very unique style to the music,
Yeah,
different from the rest, which, how hard is it for a band to reinvent themselves multiple times and
yeah,
still be able to hold on to the respect that they had originally?
right. And, still keep all of their fans, right? Not just
Yeah.
because I think like a band like Metallica, which didn't have changes, but they changed their style with the Black Album,
Hmm.
and you have clear delineation of fans that started, like, with Kill 'Em All, and then you've got fans that started. The Black Album was their introduction to Metallica,
Yeah.
and there's a little discontinuity. There's some fans that were early on not so much into Metallica after, and some that were, got into in the Black Album and never really got into the old stuff. But with
Yeah.
Sabbath, there was like continuity. Like everybody loved everything except for maybe the Tony Martin album, which was
Yeah.
marginal. But
Yeah. Yeah. But and it's so funny because you see a lot of the like with the Metallica fans, the early Metallica fans, they go to a show now and they're singing along to every song they play, whether it's off a load or whatever,
right, right, yeah,
They're
yeah,
like, I hate that, but
yeah, yeah.
singer.
They sold out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those dirty bastards.
Yeah. It's so funny. But Metallica is so good at what they do.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it mind blowing.
yeah. Do you? I mean, I think I maybe know what your answer will be, but do you ever think there'll be a band that big again, like that's in the
Mm.
heavy spectrum of music?
Do I think? Yes, I do. Do I know who? No, but
Yeah,
I do believe that, like in my mind, would if we look at the history of like heavy music, what did we have? We had these huge, these bands
yeah,
that broke barriers and these glass ceilings and stadium bands, right?
yeah,
Obviously, Metallica and Iron Maiden are the two right now that are just ginormous.
right.
Um, and I'm confident that there will be another band, right, as those two start to really retire.
Yeah,
Confident there will be another band that'll take those places.
yeah. So now, I'd like to get your opinion on. So, what do you think is the deal with heavy metal fans in Europe versus the United States? Because
Mm.
every time I see like, so I'm friends with Canton from Hyrax, and
Hmm.
they're over in Europe playing these huge fucking festivals with like all these people that are rabid fans, and there's
Can't do
only a
200 capacity club here.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
there's a couple, like, so there's Full Terror, which does a great job of pulling in heavy bands. Milwaukee Metal Fest has been rebooted,
yeah.
um,
And Full
but
Terror's going away this year.
I know, so it's back to just one festival. Well, there's the New England Hardcore, and Decibel does a show.
Metal
I
Injection does a show too.
Oh, okay. Then I was just thinking, Dark Lord Day does metal over at Three Floyds.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe there's some smaller festivals, but it just seems like in Europe it's so huge, and then here it's like, like you said, can't even get enough to fill a 200 room.
Well, let's think about that, right? Because in my mind, partially it's perception.
Ah,
Okay. So, who was I talking to? I was talking to someone about like some festivals over
yeah.
in Europe, and I'm like, how many people do you think were there? And they're like, oh, there had to be 8 or 9 thousand people there, and I'm like, that's it? Like 8 or 9 thousand?
Yeah, yeah,
It's like, yeah, like 8 or 9 thousand. I mean, I don't know what Hellfest does, but Hellfest is, of course, this world renowned. But what do we have here? We have Louder Than Life.
right.
So last year they topped the attendance with 180,000 people or whatever.
They did?
Um, oh yeah,
Holy crap.
yeah, it was insane.
Wow.
Um, we were in the VIP area and it was like shoulder to shoulder.
Really?
I'm like, we paid for comfort. What is this? Like I'm old and spoiled. What's
I
going
know.
on?
Yeah,
But it was packed literally everywhere. I was happy for heavy music,
yeah.
and sad for me. Uh, but part of it is perception on what we see because the the angles are really good angles to make it really pop with the amount of people, and then we don't really know numbers, so we think it's this. And flip side of that, talking to a lot of touring bands,
Hmm.
like those Europe helps fund the arts. So,
Oh,
so you
that's
you hear
true.
you hear bands all the time go, man, we go over there and their spread in the back is
Yeah,
fantastic. Their catering's out of this world. Well, they have the money to do that.
yeah, yeah. And I, when you mentioned that, I was thinking of I talked to a while back when he went to Sweetwater, Ola Englund,
Hmm.
who
Yeah.
the huge YouTuber and plays in the Haunted and whatever and solo stuff. Anyway, was talking to him and he mentioned that like yeah, and because I think he's from Sweden, right?
I
Um,
think so.
and he, yeah, they like he got money from the government to play guitar and do music, and it's like that's fucking cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I
That's
mean, could you imagine if the government helped out some of these like struggling clubs
oh, I know.
over here?
Yeah, yeah,
Like if they did that, this would want to come to the States, and the amount of shows we would have would be
yeah.
out of this world.
I know. It feels unfair that there's like a shit ton of money pissed away into like politics and that kind of bullshit. And then, yeah, there could be grants to clubs, there could be grants to musicians and artists. And, you know, that's kind of what I'm trying to do with some of that for like gig posters and that shit. But,
Yeah.
just like there's a lot of money out there. People are pissing it away. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I get
Well,
pissed sometimes when I think about
no,
that.
me too. And that's a really good point because, over the last few years, we've seen a lot more people bitch about who's paying their fair share of taxes and who isn't, right?
Right, right,
Well, let's not worry about who's paying more taxes or who needs to pay more taxes. We should be worried about where the fuck is our money going?
right. Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah, I want to pay for, music. That's
yeah,
what I want to do. So
yeah.
put
Like,
mine there, please.
I'll totally support the arts. I mean, I try to do
Right.
it now, but I
Yeah,
just,
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. So I think a lot of folks, they're into music are also into um, like reading and movies. Have you seen any good like documentaries or read good documentaries on heavy music or bands that you really
mm.
enjoyed?
There was one on PBS long, long time ago, but it wasn't like I wouldn't say it was focused on like heavy music. It was just like the decades of music, and I think it was
Oh yeah.
called the history of music or
I think
something.
I do remember that. Yeah.
And it went on for, I kind of feel like it went on for months.
Yeah.
Um, I loved that. I absolutely loved that. Um,
Yeah, it's very interesting to see the origin of just rock and roll, right?
yeah.
There's a guy, so speaking of that, he does a podcast which is really great. He's from England, I believe, and it's called A History of Rock and Roll in 500 Songs.
Oh,
He's working through this, and I think he's writing a book as he's doing it. And I think part of it's out. But he starts at like 1938 with like swing and big band, like transforming into like the shouters, the blues shouters and stuff, and
hmm.
then morphing that into like how it became rock, and then how country swing got in there, and all these other things. Super interesting, and
That
he's
is really cool.
He's only into like I think the 60s now, maybe early 70s. But yeah, it's awesome. I love that
That
shit.
is. So do I. Who was it? Oh, there's a guy. His name's Greg Jacobs. Just released a book, or it's getting ready to be released, I think. Called Hell on Wheels. It's Hell on Wheels revised because the original one was 94, I guess.
Okay.
And it's it's tour stories from the bands,
Oh,
which are
awesome.
super, super cool. He's got like
Yeah.
a Lemmy story in there. I'm like,
Excellent.
holy shit, right? So it's kind of in that vein
Yeah.
of, you know, the history. One of the histories that I really I guess some of the history that I really enjoyed was like the grunge scene, Seattle music.
Oh, yeah.
That was it was so big, right, in the early
Right.
90s.
Right. And seemed to come out of nowhere,
Yeah.
really, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
which is it's so crazy.
I remember seeing videos for Pearl Jam, I think, and maybe Soundgarden. Nirvana was probably the start of some of that, but well, they were. But I just remember seeing these videos of these dudes in flannel and like just rocking out and like, wow, this is kind of cool, you know? Then Alice in Chains and
Yeah.
all those bands. Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the I love the history of like the Seattle music scene. And my wife, for our honeymoon, she was like, "We're gonna go to Seattle," and we nerded out the
Oh
entire
man.
week.
Awesome. Awesome.
So uh, Mother Love Bone.
Yep.
So Andrew Wood was in a before, like his first band was called Malfunction. They were playing a show while we were out there.
Oh really? Wow.
So that was like, I was like, we got to go to this show.
Yeah.
And there was this lady that took us. I don't know how much it cost, but she took us in her van. There was supposed to be us and another couple,
Uh-huh.
but the other couple didn't show up. So we just drove around Seattle, and she's like,
Oh wow,
here's the
cool.
last place that Kurt Cobain was seen alive, and here's the first club that Nirvana was played in, and here's where this happened with like Alice in Chains. And
Yeah. Yeah.
um we got to go to this. I thought was really cool. There was a blacksmith in this building. It's not there anymore. They sold the building. Um, in the blacksmith's basement, like bands used to go in there and just rehearse. Well, it was the first place that Pearl Jam ever actually played together as a full band.
Oh man, cool.
I was like, oh, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, yeah. While you were out in Seattle, did you go visit Jimi Hendrix's grave?
No, we did get Bruce Lee's grave though.
Oh, you did. Awesome.
Yeah, it was Bruce and Brandon Lee.
Yeah.
That's all changed now. I wanted to go to Jimi Hendrix's, but the lady who gave us the tour was like, "We're just gonna go here because I know you said you wanted to do this."
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, well, fuck, you're cool. Thanks."
Yeah.
Um, did
Yeah.
hang out with his statue there on the street though, which was cool.
Right.
Jimi Hendrix's.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
Of course, we did record stores and a lot of bar hopping.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, it's been a long time. I was there in the late 90s. So tail end of grunge, uh, and went to Hendrix Grave and checked out some of the clubs and stuff like that. It was kind
Yeah.
of a sketchy city then. I don't know how it's if it's better now. I don't know, when did you go?
We went in 2016.
Okay, so not in the
At at that time, it wasn't too
dis.
bad.
Yeah,
We had a guy, he was walking down the street. He's like, "Hey, can I have some money for food?" And we had just left a restaurant and I had some food. And I was like, "Hey, dude, if you're hungry,
yeah.
like there's a really good steak in here." And he was like, "No, no, no, I want the money," and kind of bolted away. I'm like,
Hey, all right.
"Oh, okay, like I get it.
Yeah,
I understand what you're doing."
yeah.
And then there was someone sitting outside a Target as we were walking in. She's like, "Can I have some money for food?" I'm like, "Are you hungry?" She said, "Yeah." I'm like, "Do you want the steak?" Like, "Oh yeah." Like
Oh,
eyes got
cool.
real big.
Nice.
So that worked out.
That's cool. That's cool.
We did the what's the market there?
Oh, the fish market.
Yeah.
I can't think of what it's called right now, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
kind of
know
the
me
famous.
neither.
Yeah, the famous place. You can see it again, like images in your mind. Like the kind of iconic shots or whatever.
Yeah. And the
Yeah,
gum wall and all that stuff.
yeah,
Seattle's a is a
yeah,
really cool city.
yeah.
When you were there, they did not have the Experience Music Project.
Right. Yeah. There's. It
That was
was.
super fucking cool.
Oh, yeah. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Much better. Have you ever gone to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a letdown.
Yeah. It was like,
Yeah.
yay,
Yeah.
you have
Yay.
stuff.
Yeah.
The Experience Music Project is pretty similar in that though. Like of course, I was a huge Nirvana fan in
Yeah.
their years. So to they had a huge display for Nirvana and to see like these handwritten lyrics and
Oh, yeah.
stories on broken guitars and shit was super
Yeah.
super cool.
Very nice. Very nice. So,
Like a
any
trip
would
out there.
yeah, for sure. Well, I do want to go back because it's been a while. Are there any interviews that you're looking forward to in the next 6 months that you're geeked
Ugh.
about?
You know, it's so weird. I kind of fly by the seat of my pants with interviews, and it's really kicking my ass. Actually, there is one that I'm really looking forward to is Rob Noack from Against the Grain.
Oh, awesome. Yeah,
He
he's a
should
cool dude.
yeah, I think end of this month, beginning of next, or maybe it's the end of next, beginning of October. I don't remember.
Nice. Awesome.
Um, and I'm
Have you talked with him before?
I I chat with him like on Facebook and stuff
Yeah.
and see him at shows when I'm up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I
look,
met him in person first time like 2016, maybe 15. Went to Ohio to go see Mastodon with Graveyard and Clutch,
right on.
and he was down there, and we were in the pit with everybody else, and I saw he had Against the Grain. I go, oh, I've heard of those guys. He goes, yeah, I'm the drummer. I'm like,
You're like, oh
I was like,
shit,
all
all
right,
right,
hey man,
yeah,
yeah, that was a
yeah.
trip.
I like we spoke real briefly at the High on Fire show at the Magic Stick,
Oh yeah,
and he's so fucking tall. I'm
he
like,
is.
holy shit, dude.
He's a fucking giant.
Yeah, he is. And I'm not tall at all. I'm like
Yeah.
5'8" on a good day, you know? So I'm like
Yeah.
waist high to you. What the fuck's going on here?
Yeah. I I'm I think I'm just under 6 foot, so I can see over quite a few people, and then you run into someone like that, and you're like, holy shit,
Yeah.
Christ. Yeah.
I'm
That would be so handy at some shows.
hell yeah. At every show, because it doesn't matter what show I'm at. I can have the perfect fucking view and some
Right.
tall person
Oh
gets in front
yeah.
of me. I'm like, you son of a bitch.
I know. It never fails, dude. Like the biggest fucking guy will just walk in front like, fuck, dude, seriously? Can you
Hey,
see
can
I'm
you like
shorter?
I know, move over a little bit? Like,
Yeah.
and I try to be cognizant of that, or conscious of
Oh
that with
yeah,
the people
yeah.
behind me. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, short person, let me not
Right.
stand there.
Right. Or kind of get into an angle so that you can get shoulder views, right? So you can get through
Yeah.
the yeah. Yeah.
What about you? You got any like really cool interviews you're looking forward to coming up?
Let's see. I am talking basically to, some more pretty much focus on the local bands. Although I am talking to a band, I saw them at Oigs Fest. It's called Coyote Man. They're from Chicago.
Okay.
Really, really cool stoner jams. So next week, talking with them and a band from Detroit called Headless Ghost. And then trying to think, I just talked to a band. I might have the Ghost Headless. I might be conflating that with the band I talked with a couple weeks ago called Headless Mary. They were
Mm,
really good. I really enjoyed them. So yeah, but I'm gonna trying to like front load some interviews because I always release them every 2 weeks.
yeah.
Because I'm gonna be out of town for a little bit in September, so I'm like, all right, I gotta get some of this shit up there, and then there'll be a big gap, and then I think I'll just make it. I'll have to schedule some stuff so when I get back, I can get it rolling again. But
Yeah. We just did a weekend out of town and like I tr last couple of weeks, one of my businesses got super busy. So I'm like, I haven't been able to get any interviews done. And
yeah,
people are like, I want to do this here. And I'm like, fuck, I just don't have time. And now I'm scrambling because I'm
yeah.
like, oh,
Oh, I gotta get somebody.
yeah, like I need something now. I've got one at 9:30 tonight. I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
all
so
right.
I'll record that and then I'll edit it
Then you'll be good to
immediately
go.
and
Yeah.
yeah, I'll be okay.
Crazy. Well,
So
Tom,
crazy.
I really appreciate you being on Fans with Bands, man.
Yeah, Chuck, thanks for having me. It's a lot of
Yeah,
fun. I love
yeah,
talking with you.
yeah, hell yeah. I've got one last question for you,
Sure.
and that is pineapple or no pineapple on pizza?
Oof. You know, how drunk am I? Um, I prefer a pizza without pineapple. My wife loves the pineapple, but I
Oh,
won't I won't shit on someone for having pineapple on their pizza either.
yeah, yeah, me either. But I'm not a pine. I mean, I like pineapple, but I just don't feel like it has a place on the pizza. I
Yeah,
feel like
me neither.
it needs to be, pizza shouldn't be sweet and savory to me. But I know there's others that love it, and they're
Yep.
like, oh,
Yeah, well, and that's the weird thing about like the BLT
the
pizza because
BLT
it's,
pizza is badass, though.
dude, it is so good.
Yeah.
Oh my
I
God.
mean, I could eat fucking BLTs and BLT pizza like every fucking day.
Yeah, me too. And funny thing is, you asked me at breakfast if I want bacon or sausage. I don't want any meat.
Oh, really?
Yeah. How weird is that? Like I just want eggs and toast and fruit.
Nice, nice. Yeah. Well, I won't turn down meat in the morning. Someone's got sausage and bacon or ham, fucking throw it on
Hook me up. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
there.
Oh
All right.
shit.
Tom, thanks again for being on Pants with Pants. I really appreciate
Hell
it.
yeah. Chuck, I appreciate you. Have a great night, my friend.
All right, brother. Take care,
All
man.
right. See ya.
See ya. Many thanks to Tom Robbins of And Now the Band podcast for joining me on this episode of Fans with Bands. I think Tom may love music more than myself. He's a huge music fan and is now offering up a glimpse into some of the best heavy metal bands on his podcast. His conversations are great, and you get a real feel for each of his guests. You can find episodes of And Now the Band on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. See the show notes for all the details and links. Bands are nothing without you, the fans. Purchasing music and merchandise is critical to their survival. If you can help out your favorite bands, please do. If you're in Michigan, consider following the Playing in Detroit Area Tonight and SE for Southeast Michigan Music Facebook pages. They are fantastic places for fans and bands to support each other and share our combined love of music. Thank you all so much for listening. Be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast service to get each and every episode of Fans with Bands. Spread the word by rating the show, telling your friends, telling your neighbors, telling your family, telling your priest, tell everyone, and leave a comment. We want to hear what you think. You can keep in touch by following us on social media. This is a Life in Michigan production. Until next time, be well and kick out the jams.